I'm Glenn McGuinness, and this is Outburst. On the program, should the federal government increase military spending?
No, I don't think that's a good idea.
We should have done it years ago.
I don't think we're meeting our NATO commitments.
There's a whole bunch of other things we need more than military.
But first, Federal Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland has announced April 7th as the date her government will table the federal budget. In a time where a pandemic has been the norm for over 2 years, a damaged economy, and the world living under tense times, the suggested areas that money could go is endless. So we took to the streets across Canada to ask Canadians where they think federal spending should go. Our question:
what would you like to see included in the federal budget?
Definitely not military spending. I would like to see reparations for Indigenous folks. I would like to see a commitment to land back. I would like to see commitments to climate change policy and expansion of healthcare to include, well, I know this will be worked on dental care, but mental health, access to gender-affirming surgeries for trans folks. Yeah, just lots of things.
I want the capital gains rate to stay the same. I'm not really in favor of the dental thing that the NDP are proposing. I know it's hard, but I think the poor have other ways to get those benefits.
My biggest complaint would be healthcare. I think we have a shortage of doctors, we have a shortage of supplies to hospitals, we have a shortage of so many things about healthcare, just seeing specialists. So I don't think I'm not even focusing about what's going on with COVID, but I think even pre-COVID we had such a shortage and such a, malnourished healthcare system.
I would like to see pretty much everything, every policy, every bill that's passed, done through the lens of the environment. Make whether it's economics, whether it's education, whether it's transportation, foreign affairs, you name it. It should be done through the lens of environmental issues.
All of the above. So with the new alliance with the NDP, because since I'm retired now and able to express my political opinions, my heart is with the more the socialist policies and spending. So definitely pharmacare and dental care that they've suggested. But I'm also very much behind building up our military. I'm all about being peaceful, but apparently the last month has shown us that we have to build up our defense to defend democracy and world peace. So I'm all about more defense spending and more on healthcare and pharmacare, dental, especially to support our more vulnerable citizens.
Student loan debt is a serious issue for people my age. It's a debt that a lot of us carry for decades. Myself included. I've been carrying mine for over 14 years. And if that could be assisted, it would be appreciated by a lot of people.
Well, an increase for seniors for sure. And lower taxes.
Discussions about immigration and support and funding for new Canadian families.
I'd like to see something for at least the working crowd, the lower class working crowd like myself that's not making a big lot of money. Something stable for the future.
I'd like to see the fuel gas lowered, and I'm going to say I'd like to see more jobs created.
In the next federal budget, I would really love to see more money go to the homeless people, to the people here in Victoria. It's horrible here. The federal government needs to step up and take care of the people here, because there are so many people here who are A, homeless, B, addicts. It's not nice. And I think the federal government should step up and fix them. Do something about it.
Seniors seem to be taking a back seat a lot in budgets and money. So I think they should be looking at because I'm a senior, I'm 75 now, and they take a look at the seniors and say, hey, we need to support these guys a little more, give them a little more money so that they don't have to, go to the bank and go, oh, I got to go to the food bank. Why? Because, the budget should be paying more attention to the seniors, and I mean, there's another issue about getting people off the streets.
I guess I would like to see the standardized living wage. I know they've talked about it. I know nothing serious has been presented, but I would like to see that. That's across the board. And I would like to see the freaking rich get taxed and the poor be left alone, so that we got a little bit better of an even playing field for people, so that everyone can take care of their business and their loved ones and each other and themselves, right?
I guess I'd like to see the carbon tax scrapped. I'm not saying that we shouldn't look after the environment, but I think there's a lot better ways than taxing carbon. I don't think that's... Spending money isn't going to save the environment, or making Canadians spend money isn't going to save the environment. It's people still haven't changed the way they act with vehicles or anything of that sort. It's just a money grab, in my opinion.
I really support pharmacare. That's something that's really important to me because our universal health care doesn't involve it. So that's something that I would really like to see.
In the next federal budget, I would like to see more money to healthcare. I think it's incredibly important to support our healthcare workers during this time. I know that healthcare is a provincial responsibility, but of course we get federal transfers from the federal government. I do not want to see privatization occur, which we're now seeing in the budgets of other provinces. So I think the federal budget needs to be aware of that.
That's really hard. I mean, I would like to see more concrete issues on climate change. If you're going to do that, you know, the Liberal government keeps promising, oh, climate change, but I haven't seen any practical application of that. So I'd like to see money put there saying we are going to put in this many chargers, we are going to, you know, subsidize electric vehicles to get them out there.
You know what, I'd like to see the people, the older people, get a little bit more help with paying their bills, like paying heat. It's not right that a 90-year-old get a $600 heating bill. That's just, you know, or live in their apartment all, you know, snuggled up.
Yeah, no,
I'd
you're
like to
right.
see a little bit more help in that direction.
Gee, free transit would be nice. More support for people who can't afford to live, because like living in Toronto is very expensive. So anything that can help families, I think, is something that's probably good. Yeah. So any help that people can get, I think people should be able to get.
As Russian attacks in Ukraine continue, one question that seems to be persistent is what more could NATO countries do to help this beleaguered nation defend itself and assist areas in Ukraine that are running low on food, water, and medical supplies. Since the invasion began, Canada has accepted thousands of Ukrainian refugees, supplied $125 million in humanitarian aid, and supplied the Ukrainian army with lethal and non-lethal equipment. But are we falling short from what we could be doing? Our question.
What more should Canada do to assist Ukraine?
I'm Ukrainian, so you know, it means a lot to me that you know, Canada definitely steps up and does something, because our relationship with Ukraine is, you know, like fairly strong. I really think that the no-fly zone is something that we should be implementing, and I understand that I don't have all of the information that you know, the politicians have, but you know, it's really hard to see, you know, the things that are happening there, and so I really think that that's something that we should be, you know, strongly standing behind.
The long-term plan, though, to force Russia to back out of Ukraine is then, like, we need to start thinking 3 steps ahead of Russia instead of the other way around. And we need to force them out of Ukraine somehow, or at least give Ukraine the chance that that's possible. Otherwise, it's going to drag on and on and on. So,
I'm all for the dropping of certain products and services that we are backing, you know, to stop some of the ease of life left behind in the Russia circles. And I don't really know what we can do to support the people that are way over there. So I'm not really sure how we can help the people that are left. But
they are inviting the people from the Ukraine to here and make their home to Canada. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to welcome them.
Well, I wonder if we could send some people there, actually. I mean, the money thing I think is really good, but I think the people on the ground would be very helpful.
I wouldn't ever want to see NATO directly involved. The escalation risk's too big for me. So then I think the economic punishments, the freezing of assets, you know, I think probably trying to do a bit more for global banking and trying to shake those or gilt those kind of money safes, the various islands around the world, Switzerland or whatever. They've done a bit already, but to kind of escalate that pressure a bit and squeeze the oligarchs, squeeze the kind of the money side of things, and hopefully that gets Putin to capitulate a little quicker.
Canadian government, we ask about more help with maybe refugees, maybe to open the door for refugees and call it refugees and give them support, or to open the green line, like to make the all technique, like all procedure easier for immigrants, to let them come in, and maybe help with money for first time, maybe give them like some shelters, something like that. And also I'm begging to close the sky over the Ukraine, but I don't know, it's political games. I understand it is a games because it's no reason to not do it. So you must do it.
Canada should continue to impose sanctions and to listen to what Ukrainians are asking for and provide the help that they're asking for. I think only they can know what they need, and we can respond by supporting them in the way that they request.
We have people from across the world that need our support. We need to go wider and deeper, and we do need to do more in this area.
We're not doing our share of keeping up with our arms or our defence system. It's behind a lot of other countries. I think we really need to put it back where it hit the 2% of our GNP or whatever the number is. And as far as Ukraine goes, it's difficult. If you start going in there with troops, well, you're starting a war, a real war among nations. And as it is right now, it's still not a pretty situation, but it could get a lot worse, So I guess we do what we can, and that's what we can do.
It's a really tough question because we have to stay within the rules and regulations of NATO. I think we need to push it as much as we can. It is, I'm going to get emotional, heart-wrenching what these poor people on both sides are dealing with, both the Russians and the Ukrainians. It's normal families that are being killed, or no water, no food. It's, we've been through so much. It's like, here's another layer. We have to do as much as we can for the Ukrainian people, and but then again, it's very tough. Just at what point do we push it where we're all ending up in a World War III, and then of course we're all concerned about the nuclear button, right?
Well, I think they're doing as much as they can, and actually they should probably take in more refugees and provide them with the help that they need.
I think the no-fly zone is probably something that they should look at. Most definitely. At least stop the attacks from the air and give them a chance on the ground. Other than that, I think they're doing what they can for now.
Well, I think we should listen to the people in Ukraine. They're asking for things like no-fly zones, more sanctions. I don't have the answers on that, but I think we need to listen to President Zelensky and the people who are there on the ground, and not so much making decisions on what we should do based on, a perspective from halfway across the world.
I definitely don't think they're doing enough right now. They could definitely do a lot more. I think by means of the fact that they're trying to keep everything de-escalated right now is a good idea, but if it comes down to war, then sure.
How many Canadian prime ministers have served during Queen Elizabeth II's reign? Is it 9, 12, or 21? The answer: 12. During the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, 12 Canadian prime ministers have held office. It begins with Louis Saint Laurent, who was prime minister at the time of Queen Elizabeth's coronation in 1953. He was followed by John Diefenbaker, Lester Pearson, Pierre Trudeau, Joe Clark, John Turner, Brian Mulroney, Kim Campbell, Jean Chrétien, Paul Martin, Stephen Harper, and Justin Trudeau. Queen Elizabeth II is also the longest reigning British monarch in history.
Back in February, Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole was removed from his position by his own caucus. In the interim, Manitoba MP Candice Bergen took over his role until a new party leader will be elected in the fall. And that race is starting to heat up, and one of the most daunting tasks the new leader will have is keeping Conservatives on the same page. So, what must they do to make sure they come together right now? Our question.
What will it take to unite Conservatives across Canada?
That's a good question. They're having a hard time, aren't they, the Conservatives? I'm not bent like that. But I do believe in a strong opposition, certainly to the Liberal government, because God knows they got their faults too. I think I'm glad they're having another leadership run, because obviously Aaron O'Toole wasn't strong enough. The leader they had before that wasn't strong enough.
You know, fiscal conservatism, that's not what they stand for anymore. And if they really did, we would be looking towards things like sustainability and not fighting against those things. So as far as uniting them, I think they need to get back to that goal of fiscal conservatism and what is actually going to lead us there.
I think Conservatives need to try to weed out some of the extremism that's going on. I believe most Conservatives are pretty sensible. Sometimes the media portrays them like a little negatively, and I think most Conservatives want what everybody wants is just, you know, to live safe and to be able to afford to live. It's a bit disturbing though, seeing some facets of conservatism that seem a little anti-science and a little extremist in some of their beliefs, but I don't believe that's the vast majority.
I don't think that's possible. Period.
Why not?
They get so caught up on little things. They get divided. They'll pick an issue and then just make that their whole talking point. And they'll just agree to disagree at the end of it, and nothing will get pushed forward.
I hate and fear the fact that the far right is dragging down that center right that kind of classically, where I'd say in Canadians, the ones I really appreciate is a social, maybe more socially progressive, but fiscally conservative. I can understand that one. You know, they come from a place that I can understand. Some of the far right, where it's they're kind of dragging politicians that are trying to look for those votes in not primaries, I guess, but in these, you know, in say the Conservative leadership race, they're dragging those people where they naturally wouldn't be comfortable, or they wouldn't want to be, and they need those votes to get through to be the leader. They're moving farther right than I think they realize the populace of Canada is. Hopefully, still. I don't want us to move down to look like the States with the uber polarization and all that kind of thing. So
let's get together and do what's best for the country. And that's not happening because we've got too many parties and everybody wants their own agenda. I don't know. I can't see it ever happening.
Choosing a leader that's not going to use divisive rhetoric in their daily speeches, in their daily talk, that's their choice. They seem to be going the wrong way. You know, like, I'm a business owner, so I see on one side fiscal conservatism is important, but you need to have a platform that speaks to all Canadians and not just a small few, and they'll never win otherwise. Like, they're going to be repeating the same mistakes over and over again.
I think the Conservatives need to probably treat their party like any business would, and come up with a strategic plan and be very clear on what their vision and mission and goals are. Right now they have a division in agreeing what their vision is and what their mission is and what their goals would be. And they need to get that in line. So they need to sit down and do some strategic planning and figure out what they want to accomplish as a party, and how are they going to get their members to agree. What do their members want for their strategy and vision and agree on?
Quite a bit. There's lots of dissension in that party right now. There's always a different leader trying to come in, and they haven't found the right face for the party for quite some time now.
I don't know if there is, you know, really a way to do it, especially with, you know, information on like social media kind of causing even more of a divide. So
they're not united, and some trying to go too far toward the middle. They're not being conservatives anymore. I mean, you're conservative or you're not. You can't sort of, oh, well, not getting voted in, let's move a bit more to the centre. That doesn't, that's not being conservative.
What a mess is all I'll say. They have to start to think what they represent in their party and where they want to be on the spectrum, because we've seen conservatives to the left, to the middle, to the right. And again, they need to open up their minds, and the whole party's a mess as far as I'm concerned right now. So, yeah, they really need to determine what they're doing. And again, don't make it political posturing. All the parties should be helping Canadians. You're not going to make everybody happy, but you're going to make the best decisions you can.
I think they were really stung by the centre uniting in terms of the NDP and the Liberals in the federal area, and that it's one of those pieces that they can't get, the Conservatives can't pull themselves together, so they're quite surprised when the other side is crossing party lines to do so. And I believe this is what we need in a minority government. We need people to be coalescing and to be working forward. We need to be working together.
One of the agreements within NATO is that each member country contribute at least 2% of their GDP to defense. But in recent years, Canada has fallen short, contributing only 1.44% in 2020. Comparatively, the U.S. contributed 3.72%. However, Canada is poised to purchase more than 80 F-35 advanced fighter jets relatively soon. But as tensions rise across the world, are we ready for any dangers that may come our way? We took to the streets to ask Canadians if we should put more money in our military. Our question:
should the federal government increase military spending?
I'm not sure that we need to increase military spending when I look at countries like the United States. And they are very transparent. They do include how much of your taxes are going to military spending. That is certainly an area that we want to ensure we have sufficient funding in. But it has to be weighed against the other priorities of Canadians. So I couldn't say definitively that we need to increase global spending on military, but certainly we want to ensure that we're meeting not only our national requirements, the needs of other countries, but committing to the commitments we've made to our partners in worldwide organizations as well.
No, I'm anti-military in all ways. You know, if places like America would stop buying all those bombs and stuff, planes, you name it, you know, there'd be a big difference in the world.
I don't think we're meeting our NATO commitments. You know, that's part of signing up for NATO, is we probably should have, right? Get that minimum, is it 2% of federal spending should be, or GDP should be on NATO? I think we should have been there. You know, the U.S. has been carrying that load for too long, and I think we ride the backs of them a little too much, and we forget that sometimes, that is probably something where we should meet those commitments, kind of modernize or keep our tools up to date, and certainly this, you know, we probably have to look at Arctic sovereignty is probably one of those things with Russia right now, that we have to maintain our presence, and the States can't help us with that all the time too, so we need to bone up there.
No. I think we should focus more on social services, mental health. We need to focus more on food, water. There's a whole bunch of other things we need more than military.
It's really hard to say. I don't really have a lot of expertise in that subject. I would say that I think that it's the military training that Canada has offered in the past has been probably really helpful, especially, I think that people can see that actually working in Ukraine. So that's something that I would really stand behind. But other than that, I'm not really entirely sure how that whole system works. So,
to a certain extent, I wish we didn't have to use that. I wish that there was a lot more peace. But if we need to keep up with times, I guess I would say. But I don't think we need to be getting involved in wars. That's for sure.
Absolutely. It's they've been saying that for years, and now here's a perfect example of the risks of doing that. Like, if we're a liberal government, we should be looking out for our own human life first, the same way Israel funds their military, in my opinion anyway. It's we're putting our men and women into battle with inadequate tools to protect their lives or give them the upper hand in battle. So it's underfunded severely. So yeah.
In the name of peace, yes, and like weapons and war, no, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yes, I think the world needs, you got to have some military now because it's getting crazy around the world.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there are quite a lot of countries now that are acquiring nuclear weapons, and I mean, you don't want to think the worst, but I mean, there are people that have, bad intentions when it comes to why they're acquiring, what they're acquiring. But I do think that, you have to step up if you see other countries, being bullied by bigger, more powerful countries, for sure.
I hate to think that we're putting more money into weapons and that kind of stuff. I think, but the reality is, what's going on in Russia and Ukraine shows us that we do have to put more money into that. I think it's a terrible thing to think like that. There's got to be a better way. But the reality is, yes, we're going to have to put more money into defense.
Canada has an international reputation historically for being peacekeepers. Should we be making more bombs and methods of people killing each other? No. But it's like, should we be involved in the peacekeeping side of things and increase spending in that aspect? Yes. Like, should we be making bombs and tanks and guns? No, absolutely not. We should be focusing all the efforts on peacekeeping.
Yeah, I'd have to say yes. Not that I'm a warmonger, but we sort of have to do our share in the world, and we're a small country in terms of numbers, but we still have the same responsibility that other smaller countries have that are doing far better at keeping their defense spending up. We're kind of falling behind, so yeah.
We should have done it years ago. We are so far behind. We have a lot to even protect in Canada with our coast to coast to coast. And not that you ever want to use it, but we've got to be prepared, whether it be help other nations or help ourselves. And things are only going to get worse, especially with our natural resources. And there's a lot we can be doing for the world.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on CPAC. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.